Greetings! You're watching Septum Sin versus the World. I'm Septum Sin. I've gone too long without doing a welcome to our general channel. So I'm going to film this, I'm going to post it, and who knows, maybe I'll make an updated post later on, give you all a better angle, who knows, maybe even come up with an opening theme. The channel was, well, zilch at first, but we have started to grow. We've gotten more followers, more subscribers, and I thank each and every one of you. All of you who are new, welcome. All of you who have been with us, thank you, bless you, and we will continue to put out our content in order to try and do something good, something enjoyable, and hopefully create a community where we can all enjoy, talk, and, well, have fun. So what is Septum Sin versus the World? Well, it is a dedication to physical media. So what is physical media? I ask these rhetorical questions, make myself sound all intellectual.
Get on with it. Yes, get on with it.
Oh, I am enjoying this scene.
Get on with it!
Well, physical media can be anything from books, CDs, games, to movies. Now, I have a rather large collection, well over 5,000. I partner up with a fellow YouTuber by the name of Kotobuki Jake, who has a collection that rivals my own. We decided to share our love of physical media through this channel. Now, I am the primary creator on this channel, but my hope is that once we have upgraded on his end, Kotobuki Jake will be adding content as well. So we talk about mostly collections. What's coming out on DVD and physical media? We want to make sure that we share with you what is coming available. We like to give people a full week so that they can say, oh, this is coming out. And then you can actually get hyped up. You're able to check it out, know what's coming before you see it in the stores, and that way you can enjoy it. We're trying out new things, from talking about each title to just running a quick dash through so that you can see what's coming out. We're going to probably do some sort of hybrid. We've spent too long on titles that we know nothing about, and with the other we say nothing about any of the titles that show us some major interest. So we're hoping to do sort of a hybrid of the two, just kind of flash what's coming out or talk about things, then flash what's coming out after we've talked about what we have shown enjoyment for. The other thing we talk about is, well, our own collecting. We talk about what we have picked up. In some cases, if our budget doesn't allow, we'll show highlights from our collections. But with both of us having stuff in a backlog from what we've picked up over the holiday, we only usually like to limit ourselves to 5 at a time, we will more than likely just be talking about new pickups for a good while. Another aspect on this channel, and the last area that we will be talking about today, is movie reviewing and blogging. The blogging, that's just occasional stuff. We've been a little bit more active with the Oscar season, and we will during awards season try to be a little bit more active, a little bit more talkative. We might start incorporating other events, but for now it's just the Academy Awards. We're going to see how this goes, and if everybody starts to really like this content, we're going to start moving forward with a little bit more. So this year we're just going to be talking about the Oscars and the Razzies. Now, the rating system is pretty simple. Some of you have already seen my my reviews. I like to give a lot of 7s, but I want to just go quickly through how I come up with my ratings. Though a lot of my reviews seem to be on the fly, I do actually think about them long before I start posting them on here. So I've usually got the review number in mind when I post it. I used to do this on a blog called Septum Sin Against the World, and that was just a regular written blog, but we decided to finally update to modern, well, semi-modern. We're not the latest thing, but we're trying. It's sort of like moving up from an NES to a TurboGrafx 16, where we're getting closer to modern, well, to the modern platform without being on the modern platform. So let's talk about the review system. I look at movies based on 3 criteria. Importance, which just shows how important is this film overall. Is it a big award winner? Does this film actually look like something that is going to be in the public eye for a long period? And you're going to see a little bit more of that filtered into my review structure. How entertaining it is. That one to me bears the ultimate weight. Because to me, entertainment is the highest value. And then there's art. How well written is it? How well acted is it? How good does it look? These are things that do need to go into a film. All review structures are done in 3 to 4 separate parts. Part 1, how I obtained it. Part 2, how a little summary as to what it's about. Part 3, what I like about it, and Part 4, what I dislike about it. I guess there's a 5th if you're going to go with, my rating. So, once you see that, you're able to pretty well get a good structure for my reviews. So let's get into the ratings, shall we? So let's start with a 10. This is a perfect score. This is the woohoo! This is the number 1, but you're not a 1, you're a 10. There's a 0 after you. So what does it take to get a perfect 10? Well, 1, you have to be of peak entertainment value to me. I have to look at you and say, I'm not bored once. I enjoyed it. I don't have to say that I felt like happy all the way through. It can make me feel sad. It can make me feel frustrated, but I have to have enjoyed it. It's got to be something I want to rewatch again and again and again. I want to be able to get that. Art-wise, it has to be near perfect. It has to be well acted. It has to look good. It doesn't have to be like, and it can be on a scale. I mean, for instance, you can get a high art scale. If I know you're on a budget of like $1,000, I will rate that and I will adjust accordingly. But it has to be top notch. And to get a 10, a perfect 10, it has to be directed by Fellini. So, that eliminates quite a few films. And most films by Fellini don't make the 10 because they don't meet the entertainment value. But to get a perfect on art, you have to be directed by Fellini. Fellini is the only one, in my opinion, capable of scoring a perfect 10 on art. People can get to 9, people can get to 9.5, but not 10. Because there's got to be a certain level of pretentiousness that only Fellini can portray while still managing to balance out that entertainment angle. Finally, it has to be something that is continuously relevant to this day and age. I give very few 10s. Matter of fact, I don't think I have given a single 10, even to Fellini's films, though some have come close. 9s I've given out, but 10s, no. So what's a 9? A 9 is pretty much a 10 without the Fellini name in it. So if it's not Fellini and you get a 9, you have gotten my highest rating. I don't give ratings above 9 without it being Fellini, so that's perfection right there. A 9 is perfection on all scales. The perfect art, and to be perfect on art, you do have to near perfect on art. You have to have some pretentiousness to it, because the perfection of art has to have a little bit of pretension. That's just pretentiousness is just a part of art. It really is, and therefore it has to be on there. So let's talk 8. So what is an 8? An 8, again, it has to be very enjoyable. I have to be held at attention for at least 80 to 90% of the film. I can be meh about a couple of parts, but it has to be, for the most part, drawn in. Now, I've got some examples of films that were like that. Juno was up to an 8 when it came. Actually, Juno was an 8 in my opinion. It had to be well known, and it was. It was one of the films that put Ellen Page on the map. It was one of the films that put a lot of things on the map. Some of the songs are still there. A lot of the genre is influenced by it. Art-wise, it had a touch of pretentiousness, but not quite enough to make it a 9. Very well acted, very well done for what it was put on. And of course, entertainment value, I liked it almost solidly all the way through. As far as, I never gave an example for a 9, I would say a 9 would be my favorite film of all time across the universe. There was definitely pretentiousness in the art, and the art was exquisite. Across the Universe is still one of the very few films that I have just centered on the entire way through. I was not bored. I did not lose anything. And I am heavily ADHD, which means it is very easy for me to lose myself. I cannot do anything else while watching that film because my mind is drawn to it. Not drawn to it in the way of there's subtitles, I gotta read it. It's drawn to it in the way of, I love this film. It's that entertaining. And of course, it does kind of fall flatter on the relevance piece, but it is relevant enough, utilizing the Beatles, utilizing things like that, that I can still give it a 9. The entertainment value is what pushes it over at that weakest area, which was relevance. So, 7. You will see 7s constantly through this entire process. A 7 means I really like the film. It really is. That's the best way I could say it. Smiley face. That's pretty much it. That's what a 7 is. It's not perfection. It's not like this is one of the best films of all time. 8, 9, and 10 are scheduled for the best films of all time. A 7 is, this is very likable. I would recommend it to others. I enjoyed it most of the time. I'd say at least 70% or more of the film was enjoyable to me. There were some flaws, but the flaws were far outweighed by the enjoyability of the film. The art is not necessarily as top-notch. It doesn't have to have any pretentiousness in it. And it can just be decently acted. It can be well acted. It can be, the music can be there. So long as there's a piece of that art that just sticks with me and says, this is pretty decent. And then, of course, it can be moderately relevant. And again, according to its genre. 8, 9, and 10, it's going to be a lot harder for a B movie to get. It has to be a B movie that would be on a level that is just that is known by a lot in that community. It has to be very well liked in that community, or breaks out of that community. Of course, if a B film breaks out of the community and moves on to the mainstream, that's in the making of a possible 9 in that case. So, films an example of the 7s. Well, Whisper in the Dark was one that I watched recently that was very well enjoyed. It had its flaws, but to me, very well executed. So, very much worth showing, very much worth spreading the love. So next up, 6. Well, a 6 is an enjoyable film. I like it better than 50%. I would say 60%. Because it's a good film. It's enjoyable. I don't mind watching it most of the way through. It's one that's okay. The acting is decent, passable mostly. Effects are okay. It doesn't have to be earth-shattering. It just is decent. It's a film that I don't mind sitting in and watching. It's a film that I can take or leave for the most part, but it's one that I can deal with. It doesn't have to be one that is well acclaimed. It might have one or two things pushing it forward. And with this, it could mean that it suffers in one area, but another area just manages to pull it above that 5 category. A good example of that is RV. I didn't particularly love RV, but I didn't hate RV, and I actually enjoyed it at certain parts. So RV would be a great example of a 6. So let's go to 5. Now we're starting to see the middle of the road. A 5 is something that could be 45 to 55% enjoyable. It could be one that I enjoyed a decent portion of the thing, but maybe just under, or just a little bit over, or about even with my enjoyment. It was okay. It's one of those films I'm going, okay, it's okay. I don't really hate you. It's just, you're just not my thing, you know? It's one of those that I don't particularly think is a terrible thing, but it's definitely not in the good category. I mean, yes, this is wishy-washy, but that's what a 5 is about. It's 50% of one and 50% of the other. Obviously, Fellini can't get a 5. He's just Fellini, you know. But if you're looking at things, acting may be terrible, or the plot may be meh, or it just might be overall just meh. A good example for me is the newest Vacation movie. I didn't hate it. I'm OCD, so of course I've got it. But it's not a movie that I would watch on a regular basis. It made me chuckle at places, it made me go. In a couple of places, it was passable. So now we're dipping into bad film territory. Now one might say, well, you're a collector, so therefore you probably don't have any films you dislike. I have films that I can say I hate that are on the 1 to 4 spectrum. Because I am a collector. In some cases, I will seek out ones because they are that bad. It takes a talent to get that bad. And sometimes I will have a 4, and 4s are not ones that I will seek out just because they're bad. 4s are ones that I will seek out usually because they're a part of a collection. They're like, I've got to get this. A 4 is, it's definitely below 50% entertainment value. The acting is passable at best, usually. And it's almost irrelevant in many cases. The thing about a 4 is that a 4 isn't necessarily a terrible film, but it isn't a good film. A good example of that is National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation 2. I did not care for this film, but there were areas in the film that I thought were okay and not so bad. I would give that a 4. It's not super terrible, but it's not great. I might have given a little bit better on my initial review, but again, we change our minds as time goes on, so I would say at this point, I would give it a 4. So for those of you watching it, you can go back, you can write in, he gave it a 4 later on. Alright. 3. 3 is when we're definitely getting into that category of
it stinks.
Entertainment value. This is where boredom starts to set in. I'll take boredom in small doses, but once you get to bigger doses of boredom, it really starts to reek. A 3 is a film that has some redeeming qualities, but is either boring me to death or just outright offensive. I can think of 2 big examples of 3s for me that most people would disagree. 1 is American Beauty, 2 is Il Postino. They're good examples for me because both of them have excellent art value, have excellent excellent recognition value, but Il Postino bored me so bad that I have yet to be able to see the movie all the way through because I cannot stay awake. I have never had a film before put me to sleep because of a boredom level like Il Postino. American Beauty simply has offended me on a visceral level. I cannot stand that movie. And it's not because I haven't seen it a lot of times. I have seen American Beauty about 10 to 15 times. Mainly because people keep telling me, no, it's a great movie, watch it again. I'm like, no. It's literally torture for me to sit through this movie, yet I have to admit it is not an entirely bad movie. It is a movie that people can enjoy, that it's well acted, and it is well done. And it is an important film. I understand that. I have it in my collection because of its importance. I will add Il Postino eventually because of its importance. I am collecting every Oscar-winning film. And that's putting in movies that are in this category to me. So now we're getting into the depths. 2. 2 is about bad films. I mean, bad films. The entertainment value is shot. The acting, the art, everything is just like crapper. There is very little redeeming value. It's tanking on all levels at this point. A 3, you can have redeeming values and just really tank in one area. This one, you cannot have an area that is good in any of these.
When we return to our planet, the High Court may well sentence you to torture, to torture, to torture, to torture.
A good example of a 2 is Disaster Movie. Disaster Movie gets a 2 from me for a couple of reasons. 1, I chuckled at a couple of areas in the movie, so the entertainment is not ground zero. 2, it bears some importance for how bad it is. That is the level. So, otherwise though, it's done. So, if that's a 2, then what do I rank as a 1? I said I have a few 1s in my collection, and that's sort of true. But a 1 is this. It's literally a dumpster fire. I don't really want it in my house or my collection. I don't want it anywhere near. The film offends me on multiple levels. If my OCD allows it, I will kick it out of my house. Movies that have run close to this category. Slam Dunk Ernest was one that came very close. Though I still have it in my collection, that's why I'm putting it in there. I consider Slam Dunk Ernest a 1.5. It's not quite a 2. It's got just little bit of redeeming value. I'm willing to rewatch it. Usually to go, oh my gosh, why? I I have actually thrown that one out of my collection multiple times, and it has come back to me multiple times. Because the movie just in itself is just terrible on all levels. It even has no real importance or relevance other than being an Ernest movie. And unless you're trying to be a completionist like I am and collecting all the Ernest films, you're not going to want this movie in your collection. But the best example of a one is the movie Artifacts. I have rarely seen a movie that has simultaneously offended me, had me bored, made me wonder how these people got jobs, and how this movie got produced in the first place. It has very little relevance. You have to know about Artifacts in order to actually get it. I didn't know what it was until I picked it up, and I wish I hadn't. And it was ejected from my collection. I could not stand it. It was tossed. That dumpster was on fire, and I burned it. I did not even allow a store to get it. I had to get rid of it. I smashed the DVD. I did not want it. I did not want anybody else to see it. I wanted it gone. So if you see me give a 1 to something, you know that it is something, there's something blatantly wrong. So that's my introduction to our channel and my rating system, so that you get an idea as to what's going on with it. I hope that you've enjoyed our little foray into the unknown and into the now known. Welcome, welcome, welcome to my channel. I hope you enjoy it, and as we develop more of a team, I'm hoping to add more people, get more voices, and eventually, just in general, have a wonderful community. So with that, I wish you well, and I will see you on the next video.